Welcome to Rev Up Your Potential with Hilda Gann, the stories about entrepreneurs, business leaders, and HR professionals and their successes and struggles along their journey. In this podcast, we also discuss the HR challenges that people face and the tips and strategies that have helped them. If you love to learn through storytelling, join us. And today my guest is Kate Pepler. She is the owner and co-founder of the Tare Shop. And the Tare Shop provides package-free groceries for people. She has 2 locations in Halifax, and I'm so excited to talk to you, Kate, and learn more about what drives you and drives your business. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. Good to see you again.
Good to see you again. For those who don't know, Kate used my services during a time when she was upgrading to what they call B Corp. We'll get into that later. But what a pleasure to work with you and learn more about what you are doing in your business. So tell us a little bit about your background, Kate, and how you came to build your 2 stores.
Yeah. So I actually grew up in Toronto, in a small community that is mostly parkland on Toronto Island. So I grew up spending a lot of time outside, like playing on and in the water. And that's definitely what ignited my passion for nature and the environment. And as a kid, I remember seeing lots of garbage on the beaches and just thinking that was like a way of life and not really understanding how the waste or garbage gets to the beaches. I remember always seeing like plastic tampon applicators and being like, I guess there's a lot of women on boats with periods, not really waste in the water and on the shores comes from the land, actually. So through my childhood, I spent a lot of time in nature, outside, and I ended up coming to Halifax in 2011 to go to Dalhousie, where I ended up double majoring in sustainability and environmental science, and I also minored in marine biology. And after graduating in 2016, I was really overwhelmed with the state of the world. 2016 was a dark news year. Like it was all over the news. The Great Barrier Reef was dead, and it just felt really hopeless. Trump had just been elected, and I had no idea what I could do as an individual to create positive change. And especially, I feel like for most folks coming out of like post high school schooling, like you're like thrust into the world and like, figure it out, have fun, go get a job, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I started a website called Our Positive Planet that's no longer running, and that was really to help me overcome like my sense of like hopelessness, and now what I know is the term eco depression. So Our Positive Planet was a platform. Its whole mission was to share environmental success stories to inspire action. When all I hear is the doom and gloom, I kind of just want to like bury my head in the sand, to turn on Netflix, whatever it is, and just tune the world out. But when I read of other people doing inspiring things, that's what really inspires me. So it was through Our Positive Planet that I started learning about the zero waste movement and the zero waste stores popping up all over the world. And I started trying to make steps in my own life to reduce my plastic consumption, and it was really, really hard. There was nowhere that made it easy, accessible, and affordable. I taught sailing in the summers, so I was largely unemployed throughout the winter months. So I had a lot of time, so I was spending a lot of time running to a bunch of different stores trying to find different things without packaging, which isn't sustainable. And for like in terms of like driving everywhere, but also it's a lot of time. So I had the idea to start the Tare Shop, or at the time a package-free store, and had a lot of self-doubt about that. I was like, who am I to start a business? I don't know how to business. I've never run a business before. I've never worked in a grocery store or coffee shop before. I don't know how to do it. But I spent a lot of time talking to other entrepreneurs and business owners in the city, and realized that you don't need a business background to open a business. It's not a prerequisite. So in January of 2018, I announced that we'd be opening the Tare Shop that fall. So it was a really intense summer of working 60 plus hours a week, running the sailing school and trying to open up a business.
Well, I can hear your passion and I can hear the struggle that you had trying to figure out what to do. And this aha moment, like, hey, I can do this. I remember when we were working together and chatting about people, customers would buy you a cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kindly took it from them, but you felt guilty because there was this cup now.
Yeah,
and what were you going to do with that, right?
Yeah, the way I became like zero waste or low waste. I don't say I live a zero waste lifestyle, I don't anymore. But I was so hard on myself when I was starting this journey. I would like be really mean and get really mad at myself if I like drank something from a disposable cup or didn't pick up a piece of garbage that I saw. But you can't pick up every single piece of garbage. We would never get anywhere. You often picked up every single piece of garbage you saw. So now when I'm out, I just try to pick up 3. And if I do that, that's perfect. You can't get them all. But yeah, so I was definitely very hard on myself when I started this journey, which again isn't sustainable for your mental health.
Yeah. So how did you come to that kind of compromise of, now you don't call it zero waste, but you call it low waste, and obviously that makes you feel better or okay. So how did you go from the, oh my God, to, okay, this is where my comfort zone is going to be?
Yeah, I think even just like expanding my understanding of sustainability, even like social, racial issues. Like not everybody in Canada has access to clean drinking water. So of course they need to use water bottles. And of course it's not okay that they don't have access to clean drinking water, but you can't get mad at somebody for drinking water from a plastic bottle. You don't know the story behind what they're doing. So I think really just like expanding my knowledge and learning more about sustainability and about the issues that I wasn't really taught about in school, like environmental racism and other social justice issues. But also, like, nothing is truly zero waste. Everything creates waste, whether it's like bodily functions or other. Like, we all create waste, so that zero waste is not achievable. But there's a lot of things you can do to lessen
right.
that.
Right. Yeah. I remember in high school, pollution was becoming, people were becoming more and more aware. And I joined one of the clubs called Pollution Probe. I was the only female in the group, but I joined it. And I mean, even to this day, I recycle. My family kind of, on a scale of 1 to 10, they're probably in the 3-4 zone kind of thing. But I'm the one that will, make sure I separate everything. I'll put my hand in the tissue papers and put them into the tissue paper, recycle thing. They go, ooh, but that's my contribution. I mean, my 2 vices were disposable diapers and I forget one other thing. And I thought, I don't do other things, but I can't not run a household and have to wash these diapers. So I had to draw the line somewhere to gain my comfort level.
Yeah. We all no 2 people are the same. And that's
yeah. You talk about eco-racism. This is a new terminology for me. Can you share that with the others of us who don't really understand what that really means?
Yeah, so I'm by no means an expert. There's a fabulous woman, Dr. Ingrid Waldron, who's actually from Nova Scotia, and she put out a documentary and originally a book called "There's Something in the Water," and fantastic read, fantastic book. But basically, it's just she has a map that she's built of Nova Scotia. And basically, every toxic waste facility or garbage site, garbage dump, every one of those is placed very close to or next to an African Nova Scotian community or a Mi'kmaq Nova Scotian community. So I guess the whole idea around environmental racism is that the folks who are most affected by environmental issues are the ones who are also most marginalized. So they don't discriminate, but it's definitely impacting.
And I think it speaks to the NIMBY, not in my backyard. So those people who, are influential enough and educated, vocal, will say, no, don't put it here. So they think, well, if we put it here in a marginalized, they won't come to these public meetings to say, no, not in my backyard, right? So I can see where that happens. So thank you for educating us that. So here you were, you said, okay, I now married the idea of how I can be eco-friendly is not quite the right word. It's eco-passionate, maybe, and be able to do something by opening up a store. But I know nothing about it. But I talk to people and they say, you don't need to know anything about running a business. Tell me about some lessons learned along the way about running a business when you're learning how to run a business.
I'd say probably one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is hire professionals. So numbers are not my strong suit, but also there are phenomenal bookkeepers and accountants who that is their job, and that is they're very good at what they do, and that's what they're paid to do. Legal, I am not a lawyer, obviously, I did not go to law school. Hire the expert. There's people who are so good at their job. You cannot be an expert on everything, and it will save you money and time to pay the professionals for what they do. Another lesson that I've learned is the burnout lesson, and that you can't do everything alone. You need to tap into your support networks or ask for help, even though it's hard to ask for help.
And that's why you hired me, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I remember when you were deciding to go for what's called B Corp. And in order to complete your B Corp, you had to do many things from an accounting, legal perspective, and HR. And you were referred to me by a colleague, Anu, who said, hey, yeah, I know somebody who can help you with your HR. So there were many criteria that you needed to follow. And you did a great job. I mean, you were probably one of my very responsive clients who did stuff, answered things, and responded quickly and made decisions quickly. So I think you had some of the right kind of criteria to be successful, because you were open, you were decisive, and you learned as you as you went, and you recognized that sometimes you need to hire experts to make sure you do it right. Tell us more then about B Corp, what it is, and why you decided to gain your B Corp status as a company.
Yeah, so I'd heard about B Corp before even opening the store, thinking of opening the store. Patagonia is a B Corp. So it's some really, really big businesses to really, really small businesses can be B Corps. So it's a global certification that uses business as a force of good. So it's the only one that, to the best of my knowledge, that doesn't just look at one product or one service as a certification. It looks at your business as a whole. And I going down the B Corp route, assumed it was really only environmental in terms of getting the certification, but it's so much more than that. Yeah, as you said, it looks at your environmental impact, your human impact, your community impact, and your governance structure as well within your business. So it's a really, really encompassing process, and a really long process. You fill out an impact assessment on their website, and that's a free tool. Even if you have a business and you just want to see where you land, it's a free tool on their website. You don't even have to go through with the certification. But I started that a couple months after opening the business, and you can't apply until a year after you've been open for a year. So I started filling out that application a couple months after we opened our first location, and it took me 3 years. We just became a B Corp in last year, so 2021 in September.
But you only started your company in 2018 or 2019, right? Wow. Yeah. I've helped a couple of clients with their B Corp status, and it is so extensive. And what I love from the human resources side is that really B Corp companies are companies that really care about their communities environmentally, care about their staff, and they want to really create a company that is healthy for their staff, and create those foundations, fair wages, and time that reflects wellness of people. So really, really very rigorous, and kudos to you for doing it. It's like the ISO 9001, but for healthy workplaces, not safety and quality, but for healthy workplaces from a business and a people community perspective.
Yeah, and we'll kind of use that as our guiding light to inform any decision. So
Yeah.
I know our percentage of like local suppliers or BIPOC owned suppliers. So kind of using that to benchmark and always striving to do better to make.
Yeah. Yeah, I even remember you looking, when you're looking to hire, that you would look for Indigenous people and an opportunity to encourage them to apply for your company's positions and stuff. So, what are some of these, like, what I'll say, key pivotal moments in your business that have either led to some success or struggles? What have those been?
Yeah, when we were opening, so 2018, I honestly couldn't have planned it better. I think the like word of the year was like single-use plastics. So it was like very, very media. There was a lot of media attention around businesses who were trying to make these steps to lessen folks' impact. And the week before I opened, the G7 summit was in Halifax, and the whole summit was around reduction of single-use plastics, and I was invited to attend. So it was a very, very timely launch of the business, which was incredible. Like I don't think I maybe put out a press release when I opened, but I was on being interviewed. It felt like at least once a week, sometimes more, in the first months that we were open. So the amount of publicity that I got just from the type of business that I was in was huge. I don't have a list of all of the interviews that I've done, and I don't even have all of them from that first year, just because there was so many. So really grateful for that. But also the growing that quickly is also hard. You need to find staff, or you burn out very quickly, as I did. I didn't have enough help at the beginning in terms of like an accountant and bookkeeper and all of those. So I was trying to do too much. So that was definitely a success, but also a struggle as well. And then pre-COVID, we were like on a very, very steady, steep incline up in terms of revenue, success, and impact. And then COVID hit, and we are still sitting at like 40 to 50% of our pre-COVID numbers. So we're still not recovered from COVID. COVID's not over any means, but so that's been a really, really hard struggle, even just like educating people that it is still safe to shop with reusables. There's a perception definitely for a while at the beginning that it wasn't safe.
That's true. When people are putting their scoop, because I know you use scoops, in the bin, you're thinking, okay, are they contaminating the rest of the stuff that I'm going to end up buying next when I put my hand in the scoop? Yeah, I get that. What would you say are the most challenging things from the HR perspective for you?
Yeah, we've kind of like hit two different like polar sides, or two different sides of the spectrum. When we were first hiring, I think I got the first time I ever hired, so for a first location, I got over 60 applications, which is
wow, that's impressive.
So impressive. And I really wanted to hire, really wanted to do a really good job with the first round of hiring. So I think I did a phone interview or talked to every single person, and then I interviewed a select, but that's so many people. Really grateful that many people were interested, of course. And then throughout COVID, now when we post that we're hiring, like we get 5 on average. We've never had a job vacancy, so we've always been able to bring somebody in who's been
Good.
An amazing addition to our team. But it's also really hard when you're only getting 5 applications and maybe somebody's schedule doesn't work out, or they're not the right fit. So the other end of the spectrum is also hard.
When you hire for fit, how would you describe what fit is for you? Because it's so important. I think some people don't learn that lesson about it's important to hire for fit, because if you just hire because you're in a rush or you have a vacancy, you may live to regret it more often than you say, hey, I lucked out on that one. That was really cool.
Yeah. I think a really good piece of advice that I got at the beginning, and I'm lucky I ran a sailing school, so I already had experience interviewing people and looking at resumes and trying to figure out who would be a good addition to the team. But really good advice that I got at the beginning was hire people with different strong suits. So if you really are good at numbers and you only hire people who are good at numbers, all of the rest of the business not will get forgotten about, but nobody's really passionate or excited about that stuff. So hiring people who are different than you and who like doing different things is really important. But also where so much of working at the Tare Shop is customer facing and educational. Everybody who walks in the store, we're educating on what the store is, how it works, why it's important, what different products are, how to use different products. So there's a lot of education. So you need people who are passionate about what the store is doing and excited about what the store is doing and who love talking about that sort of stuff. So those are some of the qualities that we look for when we're interviewing.
And I find when people are passionate about what they do, there is a more enjoyment in what they do and engagement. And as a result, they're happier at work and they want to stay in that place. Do you find that? Like when people tend to leave, does it tend to be for kind of what I'll call unavoidable reasons? Or
I think I'm not going to say 100%, but 90%, I believe, of the people who have left has been like an unavoidable reason, or moving out of town from school or back home, or get a job in their field. So most of the people who have left.
I mean, that's kind of the nature.
Life, and that's retail.
Yeah. Now, the other thing you said that is a big headache for you is scheduling.
Yeah, so it actually used to be my biggest headache, but now I have managers at both stores and I've passed off the schedule to them. So it's probably
so it's their biggest headache.
Their biggest headache now. But so I hated when I was an employee not knowing when I was working. Like if you do this, they did the schedule every week. You didn't know when you were working the following week.
Yeah.
2 weeks. And then also juggling everybody's availability, and schedules are always different.
Because they're at school. I can't do Tuesdays and Thursday nights, but I can do Monday, Wednesday. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And everybody is doing their other jobs. If they have another job, we're doing their schedules in advance, and we're trying to scramble and work around their ever-changing availability. So we actually do our schedule once a month for August, for example, our schedule will be done July 10th. And then any changes after that, the team members are responsible for making. Obviously, we will help out if they're sick or extenuating circumstances, and we'll help it wherever possible, but it's on them to figure out. So we do the schedule once a month, but even still, it's a long process of, okay, now this person's class schedule changed, or they're out of town, or they want more or less hours.
That, like, I used to be a manager in intensive care, so I had a core of staff, and then I had my part-time staff who could fill in things, and I remember doing the Christmas schedules or holiday schedule now, but we used to call it Christmas schedule, and that was the hardest one because people would state their preference. You'd have to look at seniority, and I remember a manager saying to me, "Hilda, you post it on a Friday afternoon just as you're leaving. Then all of them will do their complaints and stuff. And by Monday, if there are some legitimate concerns, you'll hear about them. But if you post it in the middle of the day, they'll come at you." I thought, wow, that was the best piece of advice.
Yeah.
So yes, scheduling can be, a nightmare. And oftentimes I have clients who aren't are having full-time staff and they just work Monday to Friday, but not in like a retail sector. So thank you for sharing that, because somebody will say, yes, that's exactly the problem.
And then another bonus of doing it a month out is that if they have other jobs, their other jobs have to work around.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think I hear about you as a caring person. I remember what it was like not knowing until, well, I don't know if I can go next Friday because I don't know if I'll be working. You experienced that. So you didn't want that. You wanted predictability for others because you yourself know what it feels like to not have that predictability. So again, that speaks to you as a person, that speaks to you as a boss, and you as a company. You are a millennial. You've started your own company. Some of my clients have been in business for 20 plus years, and my guests. So tell me some tips and strategies that you would share with other millennials who are starting businesses or thinking about it or in business. What do you want to share with us as listeners?
Yeah, I think if you just need to go for it. It's so scary to put it out there. I remember stressing. I put it off for a week or two announcing the business, because once you put it out there, you don't have to follow through, but you can't take it out that you were thinking about doing something. So that was really, really scary to put it out there. But you just need to go for it. And I think one of the things that's helped us be as successful as we are is just the passion for the business. I didn't open the Tare Shop to make a ton of money. Obviously, we need to make money to be able to pay the bills, etc. But I opened the business because I wanted something different, and I was passionate about this way of living and this way of shopping and consuming things. So I think once you find something that you're passionate about, that'll pick up on your customers or your clients and your community, and help drive your success. So find something that you're passionate about. Go for it.
So you opened one shop. What made you decide to open a second shop? And why did you choose that location? I can't remember which one came first. Is it the downtown one?
Halifax came first, and then the Dartmouth.
And then the Dartmouth came after. Okay, why? And
so even before the first location was even open, I was getting emails asking, DMs asking when I'd be opening a location in Dartmouth, Lunenburg, Wolfville, Toronto, Vancouver, everywhere. And there was probably a period of time where I was getting an email a week asking, for a year when I'd open a location somewhere else, franchise. So I, for so long, have just been bombarded with requests to open up more. And that was always my intention, to have more than one location. Kind of before COVID, the ball got rolling, and I was really seriously considering it. And then in Nova Scotia, at the beginning of COVID, for the first few months in 2020, when COVID hit, it was really, as it was everywhere, it was really scary, and we were really locked down. But our province was shut for so long, and from maybe June, when things opened up for the first time, till December, things were pretty easy COVID-wise. Folks who were coming into the province had to isolate, but it wasn't. We were going to restaurants, we were going out, we were allowed to see friends. So the ball was really going by then, and I was too far in the process by the time the lockdowns hit in November or December again. It was months away, days away from opening up at that point. So the decision had already kind of been made to open up a second location in Dartmouth, and I chose that because it's 10 minutes from the first location. But for those of people who aren't familiar with the Nova Scotia geography, Halifax is on one side of the harbour, Dartmouth is on the other. And I feel like a lot of people, especially people from here, if you're from Dartmouth, you don't really go to Halifax.
Yes.
From Halifax, you don't go to Dartmouth. So there is a lot of crossover, but also not a lot of crossover between the two places. And the downtown Dartmouth community, there's so many businesses opening up, and a huge influx of people, as with the whole province, but to Dartmouth as well.
Well, kudos to you. So what legacy would you want to leave?
I think that really just that small changes do add up and you can make a difference. Sometimes it feels like our actions don't matter or don't add up to something, but they do. And so I think just knowing that you can make a difference, you just have to try.
And I feel that your passion, the store that you've opened really do make a difference. And I know that you actually are putting yourself out there on social media and sharing your passion about sustainability in the world. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, Our Positive Planet, I kind of fell into this movement by blogging. Like it was essentially a blog. I was summarizing articles and sharing the success story. And as a former sailing coach, I love teaching and sharing my knowledge. So that's a huge part of what we do at the Tare Shop. So we still have a blog that shares like tips and tricks to help people reduce their waste or some of my favorite recipes using our products, as well as sharing on social media different tips. Because it can be really daunting and a lot of people don't even know where to start. So if you don't know where to start, you're likely not going to do anything. But if you're hearing all of these easy things you can do, you're more likely.
I keep remembering that people can go to your shop, but all of us around the world are not in Nova Scotia. So you do provide your products online, correct?
We do, yeah. We ship worldwide, and we've recently lowered our free shipping threshold from $100 to $60. So yeah, you can shop online at Tare Shop.
So how do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so we are on all of our social media platforms. Our handle is at the Tare Shop. Our website is thetareshop.com. We have a newsletter there's a link on our website that you can sign up for, and send us an email.
So what's next? Before we wrap up, anything you want to share with us? What's happening with Kate and the Tare Shop?
Just surviving, honestly. Yeah, as I mentioned, our sales still aren't recovered from where they were pre-COVID. So just getting back on our feet, getting people back in our store, new customers in our store, and making it through the next little bit.
I'm rooting for you. You have such a cause and such a passion and a business-minded acumen. Some really good tips and learning that, use experts to leverage your time to give you peace of mind, because rather than you figuring it out through trial and error, having those services of a professional in areas that you're not strong is really important. So thank you, Kate, for joining me today. It's been a pleasure for you to share your passion with the world and to continue to make a difference.
Thanks, Pepler. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you. And for those of you who have joined us on podcast or by listening or through YouTube, thank you for listening to Kate and Rev Up Your Potential. If you liked this podcast, give it the thumbs up, subscribe, and listen to some of our other guests because they're fascinating and they do have their own unique perspective on business or leadership or human resources. So thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in to Rev Up Your Potential with Hilda Gann. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our podcast on YouTube and Spotify to stay up to date on our latest episodes. For HR tips, news, and strategies, or if you're interested in being a guest on our podcast, visit our website at peoplebrightconsulting.com.